This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson here, and today, these are so much fun for me, when Greg joins me, my husband, and we have a wonderful subject on how does freedom help an entrepreneur in business, and approaching freedom because we are approaching our 4th of July. And as a reminder, I have a couple things that you want to check out. First of all, goalsforyourlife.com. Look at that front page because there are a lot of freebies there, a lot of free offers and downloads that you can get. And our music cart is opening soon, which is Learn Music Again. If you have played before and you want to play again, this is the top program that you want to check out and sign up for. LearnMusicAgain.com. So I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm excited to dive into this subject today on how freedom helps an entrepreneur in business. And I really wanted to talk about like our 4th of July because now the 4th of July has special significance in your family, Greg, because what happened on the 4th of July?
The 4th of July happened to be my mother's birthday. So literally for the first 10 years of my life, we barely even knew that the Declaration of Independence was issued on that day. Instead, it was all about my mom. So, and we'd have friends over, and it was quite a tradition for us. And
joining her usually was your grandmother, and her birthday, right. Yes, was on the 1st.
On July 1st, yeah. Yes. So my grandmother, who was my mom's mom, it was between the two of them. They really enjoyed being special.
They did. They loved to party, didn't they? Didn't you wonder why there weren't fireworks on your birthday for a long time?
I never wondered that because my birthday's too close to Christmas.
Yeah, so. That's true. That's very true. So, well, this is a wonderful subject to talk about freedom. I've sang the national anthem many times at ball games and everything else, but it's a special meaning for me. And the actual definition of freedom is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint or being imprisoned or enslaved. And you've got a couple areas I think that are very interesting. Greg is a history buff, going back, and so I'm going to kind of let you start out on this on the first point that we'll cover.
Well, you and I, have been talking about freedom in this podcast for at least a couple of weeks, off and on, and one of the things that because the 4th of July was around the corner, we started thinking about the Revolutionary War. And just saw some similarities between the guys that were fighting for freedom and lots of the entrepreneurs that you talk to. And that is both the Patriots and entrepreneurs kind of go through 3 phases of securing their freedom. And that is, first there's like this short-term goal. You become aware that instead of being tied down by a job or under oppression from a boss that has no idea what they're doing, that it would be relatively easy for you to just break away and start this new thing. And then after that, things don't work out quite the way you thought they would, and you move from short-term goals to panic, because you've spent thousands of dollars and suddenly you got to decide, am I going to swallow the loss, go back to work? What am I going to do? And then finally you got to end up dealing with true realities. And you're able to do that because you at least tried to start this business. Mm-hmm. When you moved into panic mode, you started to figure out some things. And then finally you're dealing with true realities. Mm. And if you think about it, the Patriots kind of went through the same thing.
Yeah.
After several years of dealing with stamp taxes and tea taxes and more and more oppression by British soldiers, finally the colonists decided, what we're going to do is we're going to try to shock the British Army. So at Concord and Lexington, they kind of surprised the British after Paul Revere let them know that they were coming by sea. And their goal wasn't to get into a war. Their goal was to shock and then get into the negotiation where we could, live in some sort of harmonious relationship. And that almost worked, except that the British weren't going to put up with, having some upstarts take care of them. So, I think Concord and Lexington happened in April. By September, the British have driven Washington out of New York into Pennsylvania, and suddenly the Patriots are in survival mode.
Again,
they panic, and Washington has to decide, okay, are we gonna surrender, give up, and probably suffer the consequences of having tried this, or are we going to figure out a new plan? And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs, find themselves.
Yes.
In pure panic, going, do I want to figure out a new plan? What would the new plan be? And the new plan is always based on the fact that you've gained some perspective on how hard this is going to be. The colonists thought that this might not be this hard, and then suddenly the British doubled down and doubled down again, and you as an entrepreneur got to decide, is this revolution really worth it?
Yes.
And that's what Washington had to figure out in September, October, and November of '76. And having dealt with new realities, he developed a plan, and the plan was going to be kind of guerrilla tactics. They were going to try not to take on the British straight on as much as possible. Second, they were going to try to get the French to join and help out. And then third, they were going to hope that the British would stay busy on the continent and not be able to send enough troops to really provide what they would need in order to battle the Americans and the French. So with that in mind, Washington became laser focused on vital targets. And if you think about it, that's kind of what you need to do when you're in panic mode.
Yes.
When you start to deal with true realities, you have to get laser focused, and you got to have not only a plan, but things you're going to execute. And they have got to get executed.
Yes.
And in Washington's case, he had a willingness to execute risky but crucial goals. And the first illustration was in December of '76. He crosses the Delaware in the middle of winter. Half his army can't make it.
Yeah, they were like barefoot. They were everything.
Some of them,
horrible. Yeah, what they went through. So,
but they ended up winning the Battle of Trenton, and then they won the Battle of Princeton, and got the British to retreat for the winter. But they also collected a lot of cannons, ammunition, rifles that were discarded, and so they were more prepared for the spring after the snow had melted. So Washington, you just had become laser focused, figured out a new plan, realized he couldn't fight this thing the way he thought he was going to have to fight it, and he spent the winter negotiating with the French. And sometime later in 1777, the French started to help out. So, with that in mind, I mean, does that make sense to you listening?
Yeah.
That you've probably experienced this. You thought that there was low-hanging fruit, that getting this thing off the ground would be hard, but not as hard as you ended up thinking,
that hard.
finding out that it was going to be. And then a little bit of panic kicks in, and suddenly you've gone from leisurely thinking that this would be easy to get off the ground to how do I figure out how to survive?
Yes.
And if you're in the middle of survival, what you need to do is decide: are you going to cut your losses, or are you going to figure out a new plan? Because the first plan didn't work. It it may have sensed the market right, but it may not have picked out the competition right.
Yeah.
Or in this kind of marketplace, things change quick, and when the market changes its tactics, you got to be able to change too, just like Washington did. So then you got to deal with new realities, and in dealing with new realities, you're going to find as an entrepreneur that happens like every year.
Yes.
Until you really become a market leader, you're following the market, responding to the market, and just figuring out how to execute risky but crucial goals.
Yeah. I mean, and you really know this so well from being in the financial market, how much that changes. But it does. You have to be willing to be flexible, but stay, I love that word, laser focused, because if you know where you're going, you know what your main vision is, your methods may change.
Right.
You've got to change. If all of a sudden you are left like Washington, it's the middle of winter. Okay, so this was not in the plan.
Yeah,
This was,
exactly.
it's thought, okay, I thought we were going to have good springtime weather here, and now they're in the middle of winter. Half of his army, they don't even have shoes. And half of them can't make it. They're so weak. They don't have food.
I think they were hoping that this thing would have been done by Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
and,
they'd be home.
Yeah.
Eating, yeah, definitely. So, but having to pivot is exactly what so many people have to do right now. And we have a lot of freedom, but because we are in a country that has freedom to be an entrepreneur, but with freedom comes responsibility, because just because all of a sudden you decide to become an entrepreneur, I just had conversations today about the same thing, about just because now you're going to go the entrepreneurial route, you think, oh, now I can plan my time. Now I can plan my business. Now I can plan everything. And all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you go, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the panic sets in.
Yeah, the panic sets in. You have to know at least the end goal and be so focused on the end goal. And then some of those methods. I think learning from history is fascinating. And I wish I had paid more attention growing up. I had a crush on the guy in front of me in 8th grade, and I never paid attention to world history, but I do much more right now.
Something else we talked about with freedom for the entrepreneur finally gets them under somebody telling them what to do. Yeah. But when somebody's not telling you what to do, you've got to decide that you're going to impose a rigorous plan on yourself, because both of us know, and probably everybody listening knows, lots of people who've gone out on their own, and they don't make it because they really enjoy having leisure.
Yes.
There's no boss telling them what to do. The problem with that is you don't get anything done. And the rhetorical question everybody always asks is, yeah, but when you run out of money, won't that panic drive you to get back to work? And what I've discovered is that a lack of dollars really does cause panic, but it won't necessarily make you productive.
No, you feel like you're behind the ball all the time. You can't.
You're responding to the urgent.
Yeah, the urgent instead of the real necessary, as we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, the necessary and the vital.
Yeah.
It takes planning and going back to willingness to execute crucial goals.
Yes.
When you're in your panic, you can't be a slave to the urgent. You've got to be a slave to the critical plan.
And that's a great word for the opposite of that, freedom, and how we can enslave ourselves. This is a big deal.
You talk all the time about developing good ruts.
Yes.
Ruts can be either enslaving, or they can provide a lot of freedom, because if you're in the right rut, it doesn't take a lot of emotional energy to get a lot of things done.
Right. It's a great management tool
it's
for
a
your life.
Self-management tool.
Right, definitely. So, wow, great information, because, when we talk about freedom, freedom comes with responsibility. It's definite responsibility, and you want to be able to do what you love and have that ideal lifestyle, and and as we see, and I train with those, it takes work, and it takes work of where you need a structure in place, or else your last gig's going to be your last gig, and you're always reinventing yourself, always. So
Right.
you have to have that end goal and know how to get there, and that it takes the structure, but yet you have the freedom, a lot of freedom, and it becomes really fun because you do have the freedom to do what you'd love to do as well. So, and there's also other freedoms that we have, and I think I liked the focus of where you went in history, because it shows how it responds to itself. You get one plan, and then something's not working, and you panic, and
Right.
you get another plan, and you panic. So it's almost like this push and pull.
It's super similar to entrepreneurs.
Yes, and it's super similar to music styles. Totally, because the Baroque was very rigid, and then you get the classical with this little light and airy, and then you get the romantic, and you bring in a lot of that sort of feeling and expression, and then the impressionistic. Oh, you're painting a picture. So you have all of these different responses to each period of time, and the same thing goes with freedom. So, and one of the things with freedom, when I think about freedom, and my father, your father, and some of my relatives, is they put a great value on owning property. And the old England aristocrats, they were the ones that owned that property. But we have the freedom here in our country that we can own our own property. And I think that's why that was a big focus in owning land. They wanted to own their own land. And when I even talk about a website, you're owning your own land. You're not subleasing on a social media platform. You are owning your own land.
Yeah, well, I mean, your business is your property. You own it. It's your own land. Your skills and experience are your property.
Right,
so you're owning your own land.
Yes,
and
yes.
One of the things that the founders hated was the thought that somehow somebody would think that they could tax that. and rob you of your most precious assets.
Right. That's very true. And I mean, my ancestors and great uncles and all of that, they put a huge value of owning property, and they'd buy it up. They buy up more. It didn't matter how old they were.
Well, I don't know if you've told your audience, but our grandparents didn't have two nickels to rub together.
Nothing.
Really scratched stuff up, and all of them, till the day they died, would buy coffee they didn't need if they had a coupon, just to save money, and they couldn't throw away a paper bag. It was just who they were.
Yeah.
And, you think of the life they scratched out, and the panic that they had to go through, and the willingness to stick to a plan and execute.
Very frugal.
Very admirable.
Yeah, very admirable.
And obviously our parents learned a lot from them.
I heard the other day that Folgers is still one of the most popular coffees, even with all of the, Starbucks and all of the other, custom coffees. And I think my grandmother was a part of that. She had this basement in this house, little tiny house, but there's a basement, and there were stairs, little tiny stairs. I think there was a can of Folger coffee on every instant too. Yeah. It was always instant, always instant, and on those big old containers of Folger on every step.
Pass up a bargain.
Could not. She'd have some sort of coupon. So, but there was that freedom then of saving, and I think that's such a great principle too, that we can save in this country, and working toward that. And also, we do have freedom of speech, but with responsibility. But we have an amazing Constitution that was really fought for, and a preamble. And I thought it was, really great to review. It was good for me to really review that right now with the 4th of July coming, because I just want to read this real quick. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And this is for the people. This is not for just some sort of government rule. It's to establishing that freedom, establishing the tranquility, and provide for defense so we can live safely in our homes. To me, that meant so much to be able to reread this right now at this time of year, especially because this was fought for really hard by those patriots that went through the frozen waters with bare feet, barely making it. They fought hard for those freedoms, and I don't want to just take those lightly, and just really be grateful, for.
Yeah, and those, even though they're broad, they're very specific goals, and they kept all of those in mind as they were forming the Constitution. Yeah. To over time perform a more perfect union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility. Those are lofty goals.
Whoa.
And yet the Constitution provides the fabric which those goals can be pursued.
Yes.
And, that's kind of what we do with a business plan. We create lofty goals, but as most of us probably know, there's no straight line to, executing your business plan.
It's not. But at least I like what you brought out, the goal. I mean, that's where your visionary, where the goal is and how you get there. It's just a little bit different. And even in writing that, the generalities of that, I felt like it's good. In fact, and again, growing up, I had really no idea of the value of this. And I remember that I was told to memorize it from one of my classes, and I probably sort of did that overnight and got through the test or whatever. But boy, as I come back to it now, and after journeying through being an entrepreneur for so many years, being the professional musician, raising our children, and realizing that we can own property and build onto our property, and I can build onto my business and help others. I have the freedom to do that. This has become a lot more special to me, and realizing what was fought for in so many years, as you talk about, the short term, and then the survival mode, and then you deal with the realities again, and you got to shock everybody, and then there's more of this long-term plan.
Yeah, so the 4th of July ends up becoming a real day of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
As we think about what was given to make that happen, and then and what was established. Really remarkable.
Yeah.
And a lot to be thankful for.
And so now, we still think of your mom every 4th of July.
Absolutely.
Because,
we get cake and ice cream.
We do every 4th of July. And I'll always remember how happy your mom was an only child, too. So she would have the hugest smile on her face. And it had to be a birthday cake just for her.
The center of attention
on the 4th of July. But that was really, really fun. So, wow. Well, are there any closing words that you have on this?
I think we did it. But I just hope your audience feels thankful to have their freedom, and also realize that they've got the freedom to really create their own future.
Yes.
And but it doesn't always come without a lot of hard work.
No. I can attest to that. And it comes from when stuff doesn't exactly turn around out once. You know what? You just have to do it again. It's just what it is.
And at least when you're doing it at your desk, nobody's shooting at you.
Yes. Oh, that's a good thing. Hopefully not, huh? So, well, thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you, Greg, for joining me this week.
It was a lot of fun.
These are a lot of fun to do together. And next week, you want to make sure that you tune in to different communication styles for different cultures. I cover 3 main communication styles, and you're going to love the stories around each of those. So you'll want to make sure that you tune in next week. And if you like this, I'd love you to subscribe leave me a review. That means so much to me. If you can do that, and we have a Facebook group as well if you want to find us there. And so I'll sign off now. Deborah Johnson for womenathalftime.com, goalsforyourlife.com. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. So bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.